So I was trying to change the
So are we
outro,
in,
which I had just.
are we in bonus footage territory for our Patreons?
Yeah, basically.
That was I mean, we got off topic a lot on that one, but I kind of figured,
Yeah.
we'd be doing that because I mean, this movie, it's the first one we're talking about that's not part of the real trilogies, and
Mm-hmm.
and so there's going to be a lot of topics to explore that branch off of that.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and obviously
Well, the
with
movie branches too.
and well, yeah,
Mhm.
and obviously with the Andor trailer dropping today, it's
Yeah.
obviously something we're excited about. So that was going to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I had a good time talking about it, and I mentioned it obviously, but yeah, it was such a fun time, like just rewatching them because it's definitely one of my least watched Star Wars movies or shows, and so it's kind of cool to like kind of go into it like with fresh eyes and like really thinking about watching it even for the show itself. So yeah, I think I enjoyed it with like now way more than I ever did before.
Yeah, I kind of figured it out that you'd feel
I
that way.
I think us just having these discussions that we've had has kind of made us all maybe look at even the movies as we watch them with maybe a new appreciation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And especially because we're trying to look for more deeper things as we talk. And so yeah, I do love this movie. It's a fun one. It's just it's one of those ones where you can like sit back and have a drink and just go for the ride.
Yeah.
Let's join the roller coaster.
I think, as a standalone movie, it was amazing. I actually did appreciate like the I guess love story portion of it. Like they played that well. They made you feel for the characters, like I had mentioned, and just like a tease for the future. The reason I don't like the dice is think about if this same story happened with you and your ex-girlfriend, right? And now you're gonna give these to Kalani, and like what I mean, like that's like weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like why would you keep those? Like that's a part of your history with like a love interest that you were like risking your life for. Now you're gonna give it to like
but
the
Han doesn't
truest
give him to her.
princess.
Han
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
give
I
him to
know,
her.
but I'm just saying, like, why would she care about him? She shouldn't care about him. That was like a thing he had with his ex-girlfriend.
I mean, they were his dice. They were his dice for luck. And then she grabbed him off the speeder when they were running. So they were his. It wasn't like she gave it to him or he gave it to her. They were his that she just happened to grab. But she did keep them.
No, Quinton. He grabbed them off the speeder. He gave them to her as they were walking through the gate when she got caught. He gave them to her for luck.
Yeah, she's like, "What are these for? For luck?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. So
yeah, and then she had him all this time and then gave him back.
Yeah, she kept him all the time as a memento to him.
Yeah, as a love trinket.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a piece
she gave him
jewelry.
Back, because she gave him back to him when they were gonna go down to into the mines of Kessel.
Into the mines, yeah.
I totally forgot to mention this, but there's that line where they need to be sent for clipping and tagging, and Han's like, "What are they clipping?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a fun line.
That was a good one. But I feel like this is like one of those things. So let's just say that Leia doesn't know this whole story. And then Leia looks back and watches what happened. She's going to be like, "Why did you keep these?"
Yeah, she's sitting there watching Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
But it's I can totally see it. It's just like, I don't know if you've heard of people like this, but I've heard of like stories of people like keeping their ex-girlfriend's letters or, like just things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, why are you keeping these? You know, like, what do you like go back and read them every once in a while? What are you gonna grab these dice and rub them and feel like the feelings you had with Kira? You know, like, why do you have these?
Well, they were a good luck charm.
That's great.
Yeah.
I see both sides. I do understand what you're saying in it.
Yeah, I get your
It is
point.
a little weird.
I think if it was like he always kept them, never gave them to anyone, and they were making it in the show like, oh, here's an importance to something that he's kind of always held on to from his old days, but kind of making it like a, you know, the love of his life interest and passing him back and forth, I feel like then kind of tarnishes it and makes it weird. So it's like, oh, you just pass these dice to the girls you like in your life, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, baby, you want to feel my dice?
Rub them for good luck. Okay, you have to cut that for the Patreons.
I mean, they paid $5 for it.
Oh man! But
another Star Wars news of this week. I was reading that second, whatever that book is called, the Second Light of the Jedi book from the High Republic, and Paterson is in it. For a short little bit.
Crazy.
At least so far I've read. I'm like, oh, that's interesting because
so
in the Dooku book
super
they
old.
already. No, he's
but I mean, like
young.
hundreds of years old, or at least a couple hundred years old.
Yeah, and well, in the Dooku book, he's already when the Dooku are kids, they describe him as ancient. So it must be even older than when Ahsoka's meeting him, you know, in the Clone Wars. Lived all that life just to be frozen in Fortress Inquisitorius.
Right.
Who knows if he's alive or dead in there?
Yeah.
That's funny. It's almost depressing, but you know, I've thought about this theory, and what if those that are there aren't dead?
Yeah.
Oh, I think 100% that was shown as definitely
a tease of like
carbonite.
Carbon freezing.
They could be, and that way, you know, oh, that's their fate.
Imagine.
They're dead.
Okay, I'd love to see like a Rey series where she's trying to recreate or bring back the Jedi Order, and she stumbles upon this hidden Empire thing, and she has lots of Jedi to help her. There you go. What if you get 50 Jedi? It's pretty easy to bring them back and start your own school.
Or if it's on Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, that would be cool too. I'm trying to find, because I was supposed to switch the intro, and I made the new intro, but when I relinked it, I linked the original one, and I can't find where I save the other one. So I'm gonna try and edit the video if I can later. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like Q's busy.
You like my hands-free cell phone talking?
Yeah.
The headset holds it in perfectly.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that was a good show. We're gonna have an interesting one next week.
Oh, good no.
Oh boy, The Force Awakens.
Do I have to watch a movie beforehand, or can I just go off of my predetermined dislikes of it already?
That's the whole point. Is you're supposed to watch it so that you can, because you
get a new one. I'm going to take notes on this. Tyler's notes are going to be all the positive things, and mine are going to be like all the bad things.
You remember that I said that The Force Awakens is my least favorite.
It's the only one that's, I mean, it's not good. It's just, it was exciting to see the first time because you wanted to see Star Wars again.
I will
It's all
admit
it had
that
going for it.
I'm more saying as a movie by itself would say it's my least favorite. But this is spoilers for next week.
Yeah, I think it's similar.
Probably no one will see this anyway, but
I had the most anticipation for this movie, but I think that's why I was so disappointed. Then the next movie, the second movie, then I feel like that was definitely my favorite because they started, fixing some of the issues I think with the first one. And then they ended it and I was like excited to see where they would go next, but then the third one destroyed my hopes.
Destroyed my hopes. Just
or brought them back to life of my disappointments. Brought back my disappointments to life of Palpatine.
Nice.
Yeah. Somehow Palpatine has returned.
I think that's like my least favorite part is just because I think Palpatine is a fantastic evil character, and especially in these, we watched through the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, just how good he was at deceiving people, right? Like that was his most powerful power, was his power of deception.
Yeah,
and I thought he's such a good character. And then the sequel trilogy is like, well, we need a bad guy. There's this one who died. You can probably use him again.
Yeah. And then it just, once again, I mean, we're going to get into it, but just, I think the biggest fail of the whole thing is that if they were going to bring him back, which, like, as we know, it wasn't necessarily the goal from the beginning, but if they were going to bring him back, then they should have had Rey like having fond feelings, or at least having like a temptation to follow Palpatine. Not that she never
it almost
was
felt like
going
there was
to.
none of that. There was just like, nope, I'm the Jedi. She didn't have that that dark side calling like Luke does. And they want you to think that she does because, oh no, she force lightning. She used dark side powers without trying.
Oh no, there was a dark Rey that attacked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never see that. There's never
with sharp teeth. Hey, there's the sharp teeth.
Sharp teeth. Yeah. And no, I think that's what it is. There's no fear. Like, you're not afraid that Rey's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
See, I get that though, because
or that she's gonna lose. She always like when imagine watching Return of the Jedi again for the very first time. You'd never seen anything else. You'd seen A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and you're sitting there. You watch Luke make his stand, and then you're watching Palpatine electrocute him. You might think he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Right? Vader's just standing there, letting it happen.
Even if he does die,
and it's not like
that's kind of the point. That would be okay.
Almost. But you
that
never
was a sacrifice he chose to make anyway, and you'd feel okay with it.
But you never feel like Rey's anywhere in danger at all.
That's because she's all the Jedi.
That seems very Sith teaching to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like just all of that, it's, you know what? It really actually, it reminds me of, like how everybody feels about, what's that show with the dragon? Game of Thrones. Like everybody hated it because after all of the show and stuff, they ended it like in like some of the worst ways possible. I feel like that's similar kind of with this trilogy. They could have went so many different places with it, but the choices that they made, it's like you could have done it so many different ways that would have made it so much better, because it's like, if we're saying Skywalker's over, right? Then why did Ben have to die? Like, if that was just going to be the end, who cares if he's alive or dead? So why would you kill him? That does nothing for anyone. You know what I mean? Except they could have been like, oh, his redemption story. And then now, like, he's good and him and Rey can be like good together. or whatever, but it's like,
it could be good together.
It's just, I don't know. It just, it's so weird, And then, that Rey's the
I
one
think
that
it's simple.
ends up
It
finally
comes
killing.
down.
I don't know.
I think it's really simple. It comes down to the fact that there wasn't a written story for 3 movies.
Yeah.
And then when everyone freaked out about The Last Jedi, kind of like they did in Obi-Wan and freaked out instead of letting the story play out, then Disney had to course correct.
Mm-hmm.
And or at least they thought they did, instead of letting the story just play out. Maybe everyone would be thinking, oh, The Last Jedi was such a great movie if they'd have let the story play out the way it was meant to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the thing, is that the bad reaction to The Last Jedi just put like the e-brake on, and they completely, Disney's like, oh, we gotta go backwards, we gotta change this,
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever
Bring back
direction,
the guy who made a copy of A New Hope.
Whatever direction that story might have had, which is completely reverted, complete change of direction. So any opportunity that The Last Jedi had to build something was just completely wiped by the way they handled Rise of Skywalker.
Chris Terrio, who's a very well-known writer who wrote The Last Jedi, said he's never done so many rewrites on a movie. There's supposedly Daisy Ridley didn't know that she was Palpatine's daughter going into starting the filming of the movie. She was filming parts of the movie and didn't know the story. So it was just a mess, and I think it was also a rush. They were trying to rush it, and it's like, okay, the MCU can do that mostly because it wasn't rushed when it started and was given time to find its footing, whereas you haven't had a Star Wars movie in 10 years, and not only has there not been a Star Wars movie in 10 years, but it's no longer under the control of George Lucas. And they were like, all right, we need a movie as soon as possible. And didn't let it.
They're like, we just spent $4 billion on this. It needs to make money for us right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which they did. Like, that The Last Jedi made like $1.7 billion? It made a crap ton of money.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily, I don't really think about the money or how successful it was, financially. I feel like it was just like what we've all talked about, is like the actual legit Star Wars fans. I think that's more where the failure lies versus the financial side of it. And I think that's where, it.
I feel like, you're saying,
I think
if they would have taken their time
as well.
Mm-hmm.
If they had taken their time to make a more cohesive story, I feel like it would have been more of a success financially.
I think a lot of people took the wrong message out of The Last Jedi and paid attention to the wrong parts of The Last Jedi and weren't paying attention to what the movie was actually about. Because
I think The Last Jedi is fine.
If you want to pay attention to The Last Jedi, you need to closely pay attention to every single word that Luke says.
Yeah. It's just it's similar flashbacks to, everything that Luke and Vader say, everything that Yoda and Luke say. It's very similar. I totally understand what you're saying there, because if you're not paying attention and if you're not thinking big picture and like everything that Luke says, you're going to miss a ton of the importance of the movie. Whereas I think the first movie and the third movie, there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't matter. No one cares about. There's dialogue in there that is worthless.
People are like, he just went away he went and hid on an island. And I'm like, did you hear the words he said? Because he basically explained why he did that. It's all there and explained, and it's clear.
Yeah.
And it actually, unlike The Force Awakens, has a lot to say about some of the same ways and same stuff that George was talking about in the Clone Wars. In the prequels.
Yeah.
In fact, fact, the Force Awakens doesn't even mention the prequels. It says their first line is, "This will begin to make things right," and and the Last Jedi, he says, Luke says Darth Sidious, and mentions all the things that happened in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unlike
Disney went at it with a thought of completely ignore the prequels. When even at that point it was a fan resurgence of enjoying the prequels.
It's
now even more so.
It's because the people who loved the prequels are now us. We're adults now.
Who are now dominating the internet
10 years
voices.
Later, who were kids who loved them, who those were our Star Warses. We were adults now. It was time that those people liked those movies.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's another thing I'll have an argument too, is that the sequels will be other people's Star Wars.
Nah.
You know, I think that's kind of the thing that they were going with Rey, because she needed to be the hero, because she was the it was good for
girls. Claire likes Rey, and that's her biggest failing as a human. I'm just kidding.
No, like, to be honest, I'm totally fine with Rey, but I think like what Tyler just said, the issue is she didn't even know what she was doing. So it's like she's not believable because she doesn't even know what she's doing. So she didn't even have the opportunity to be believable. She didn't have the opportunity to have those feelings and like show that in her performance, show that in her actions of like, oh, like, you know, am I going to go to the Sith? Oh, how's it going to feel when I find out that the worst person in all the galaxy is my grandfather? You know, like, this is my blood, you know, like, how am I going to, you know, how's all this going to play out? Like
the worst person ever to exist.
Yeah. And she doesn't even have the chance to know that and feel those feelings, show those feelings. So a lot of it, like, I will admit, is that, you know, but, and then goes back to the very beginning. If Rey from the beginning would have, if the audience would have known, or if Rey would have known, that would have made all of it so much better. So if she would have found out the first movie, or if we would have found out the first movie,
I think it would have been interesting.
No. I think I think it's okay not knowing the first movie, because that gives fans something to talk about for a couple years, right? But not knowing until the end of the last movie, where it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
it's kind of pointless, because revealing
the whole point
in Empire. Revealing in Empire is, oh man, what Luke his dad is a bad guy. You know, Luke,
and then you have a whole other movie to
deal with the repercussions of that.
Not the last 20 minutes of the movie.
I think just like, even if it was the very end of the very first movie, but so like you can even start thinking, and then people could start thinking in their head, oh man, because everyone was like, who is she? And the long story short, for the first like couple movies, like, she's a nobody. Why is she doing this? Why do we care about her? Whatever. So
that's the answer we got in the second movie.
Like, all those years, we're just like, oh, she's like a nobody. But if we would have known that there's something, or like, you know, if she would have found out, you know, even say the beginning of the second movie, but then she's like, should I tell someone? You know, or should I keep this to myself? You know, like, how are my friends gonna feel about this? You know, or if Finn was the one when they're going down in the pit, to be like, Palpatine's your grandpa.
I think what would have been an interesting twist is if they would have done something along the lines of, like, instead, give us the twist. You know, when Luke finds out that his dad is Vader, we also found that out at the exact same time.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you were to, like, show somehow that the audience could, like, we reveal this secret, but the whole time we know the truth, but Rey, the character, doesn't.
Right. Yep, that's what I wanted. Like, either just her or just us. So there's something, you know what I mean? Like, where It's kind of like one of those horror movies, right? When you're like, don't go there, there's a guy right there that you know what I mean? We know, but the actor doesn't. So they're acting in a certain way as if they don't know, right?
Yeah.
But then we all know, so that gives us like, that excitement or whatever.
Or what are they going to do with that information?
Or
how are they going to act when?
Right.
Yeah, because the whole time you're thinking, oh, she's nobody. Why is she? Other than the fact that you want to be mean and bad, why is the dark side calling to her? It's this whole point is she's been this scavenger who's she helped BB-8 out of the nicest of her heart. She helped Finn after she attacked him. Like she wasn't a bad person. So why is the dark side calling to her? And they don't, because of the poor writing, they didn't know why. They didn't have a reason why. And so as an audience, you never felt like it was really a worry that she was going to join the dark side. I mean, I don't know. Are you recording all this, Tyler? It's going on our Patreon?
Yeah, it's all been recorded.
So next week we can be like, we've already got to upload.
We already covered it on Patreon, so if you join our Patreon, you'll hear
this is not discussing the movie. It's discussing the dislikes of the sequels and how it was handled.
Yeah, we're not really discussing any one movie in particular here.
Tyler, no, I don't actually. I don't want to tackle. This is off topic, so I won't bring it up while you're still recording for our Patreon.
I think another option they could do, or something. I will admit, I don't like. My least favorite ones are the JJ ones, and I'm a JJ fan. And
yeah, I agree.
And your least favorite ones? That's 2 of the 3.
Yeah, because Rian Johnson nailed it, and actually understood Star Wars.
Yeah, he did the best that anyone could have done with what he was given, and the fact that he was only able to make the second out of a trilogy.
And JJ didn't even come up with a story. Rian Johnson's like, okay, you gave me the beginning, you gave me like a prologue. Now I have to figure out the story.
Yeah, but the thing about then Disney goes back to JJ and says, the fans didn't like what happened here, so completely go the other way. Like they didn't really give him very many freedoms either to
no, that's the second time around.
That's true.
Completely just like you just go back and just finish it. Just do whatever you have to finish this story, but completely ignore what just happened.
You know what I think was one of the funny things too? They made a big deal about. They're like, we're filming on 35 millimeter cameras and stuff, just like they did the original Star Wars. We're going backwards, and it's like you understand that
JJ's big thing.
And the whole point of George Lucas was to literally push cinema forward. And do you know? Okay, I found this interesting. You want to know a fun fact? You know the entirety of the Clone Wars is dubbed. The entire movie is dubbed because they used digital cameras that made a big ol' when filming, and it's in every recording. And so they had to dub the entire movie.
Wait, what? In order to make
Attack of the Clones. It was the very first one they filmed on digital cameras.
Yeah.
But the cameras made a hum that are in like every single take, and so they had to dub every single line. You didn't even know that because it's that good.
Yeah, they were so proud of themselves about going back to technology that was used in 1975, and it's like you realize he invented that technology in 1975 because it wasn't around yet. Why don't you invent something that isn't around yet to use for filmmaking to make this movie?
Like the volume.
Push exactly. That's what Favreau and Filoni have done have pushed the boundaries of filmmaking to make Star Wars. And that's what it's always been about.
To make shows that are on a lower budget feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's
it's kind of like James. It's like James Cameron. I was gonna say.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love James Cameron.
Like I feel like he's similar to George in the fact that I think if you truly love filmmaking and you agree with pushing the limits of what's possible in film, like you're gonna love people like George Lucas, you're gonna love people like James Cameron, and they might not be the typical person, but they're not going to be a sellout either. they're gonna like put what they want to put, or they're not gonna do it,
Yeah.
Well, if you look at like J.J. Abrams, look at Super 8, right? That's an old school movie shot in an old school way. No, it's not a bad movie. It's a great movie.
Oh, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites.
But that's his style of filmmaking, and that's not what Star Wars is about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could fit him in there. I think he just tried too much. He was almost too much of a fan in his own. He was too much of a original trilogy fan that hated the prequels. Yes, I think that's
he was the embodiment of what Disney was at the start, and that kind of set everything down the wrong path.
Which I'm pretty sure is what's said in that I didn't watch it when you sent it, but I've watched it before. I'm pretty sure that he says something like that JJ hates the prequels, but was an original trilogy fan because he's of that age.
Yeah.
And so, it was his idea to basically kind of make like a nostalgia kick to A New Hope. Thing about nostalgia kicks, though, is I don't think they come off the same. They're really great. Like, watching The Force Awakens was a ton of fun the first time. But it just doesn't have the same lasting effect, I feel like.
Nostalgia, it's awesome to see, and then it's like, you don't really care to watch it again.
Oh, they called back to such and such time. Cool. But like when
Which
there's
is funny
nothing new.
But then you look at Rogue One, and that movie is amazing. And that was completely just, let's show what happened 5 minutes before A New Hope.
Yeah.
I
think like what you're talking about with the nostalgia, you have to do it right. It has to be sprinkled in. It can't be just like, a nostalgia fest.
Because I think the reason that, like we said, Rogue One was a successful Rogue One, that was the story. The story took place then, whereas The Force Awakens was supposed to be completely new, right?
Yeah. New characters, new everything.
New characters, new governments in the galaxy, stuff we'd never seen before, and they tried to throw in all the nostalgia. Whereas that's what movies like Rogue One are for. Rogue One was for the nostalgia. J.J. Abrams should have done Rogue One because then he could do his original trilogy era movie, right?
Yeah,
I'm not saying Garth was great. I love what Garth did with Rogue One. That's my favorite Disney movie my favorite Disney movie in the Star Wars universe. But I just feel like that J.J. Abrams wanted that, but he wanted to make something new too. He wanted both, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of something that I also dislike. So similar to along the lines of the dice, what I don't like is what they did with Han and Leia. It it kind of is like
broke them up.
It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good comparison, but it'd be like, I'm sure
I think
you
it's
guys
funny
are married.
that
You guys have seen The Notebook, right? The movie The Notebook.
Yeah.
And it's like having flashbacks. So let's change that and then say he leaves her when she gets dementia. You know what I mean? It's like, so you get this amazing love story, and then you get this guy who, was like on the edge of, like kind of like a smuggler, not necessarily a horrible guy, but not a good guy. And then you get this whole character arc of him becoming like a hero, and then be like, oh, he actually regressed. So now he doesn't help anyone. He's back to his old ways. Then he left Leia. It's just like, this is just weird.
Star Wars was a coming of age story for Luke, but Han's character grew a lot from where you meet him in Tatooine to where he volunteers to be the hero mission on Endor, right? And he doesn't even volunteer anybody else because it's going to be a tough mission. And then he's like, nah, I'm just going to be a smuggler. And I totally understand. I feel like the Aftermath books do a decent job with his character in the second book, in why he leaves the rebellion. Right, he leaves. He resigns his commission. He's no longer a general, but that makes sense because the whole reason he does that is because the Republic and at that point the Senate's back together, right? And there's diplomats, making decisions for the Republic. And they won't go free the Wookiees, and that's what Chewbacca has to do. Chewbacca has to go and free the Wookiees in Kashyyyk from the Empire, and so that's why he resigns his commission, because they're not acting on that, and he needs to go help Chewbacca. Makes sense, but why does he just go back to smuggling, right? Like in that book, in that book, you find out Leia's pregnant, and he goes through all these like, oh no, I'm going to be a father. I can't keep doing this kind of insane stuff. I keep risking my life for other people, and I've got this kid coming. I got to be a dad, and that's great character building. And then I don't know where you get the Force Awakens of I'm just a smuggler again. My kid left for Luke, so I just gave up on my
I will say to that, I'll make an argument to that I think he left. He probably did all the things you said, but left when Ben fell to the dark side. That's when the devastation hit them both, and the loss of their son, and that's when they kind of went their separate ways for a time. Was the heartbreak there? Not just that they failed, but also, your son's out there literally killing the people you've spent your whole lives trying to save, and the depression and anxiety that would cause.
Yeah, but then at the same time, though, then after all of Han's character building, he's a father that gives up on his child, where it's like, so the movies basically are like Leia is trying to force him to be like, he's still good. And Han's
I don't
like,
think
no.
he gave up. I don't think he gave up.
I feel like the way
the Force
he acts
Awakens,
when he meets him in Force Awakens, I feel like he gave up. But his actions before that is weird, I would say. Like when he sees him, he's like, oh, I got a chance. This is my chance. But I feel like he should have been fighting for more of those chances the entire time. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Instead of just being a smuggler.
Yeah, but they made it like through the script, they made it that Leia was like forcing him to believe it and to do it. If it wasn't for Leia, he would have never went there. He would have never talked to him. That's what the script makes us believe, is that it was Leia. Like, yeah, go watch it again. Watch it 3 times. Leia is the reason why that he even goes in front of Ben. He would have never done it except because of, his love and trust in Leia that he's still good. So that's why he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise he wouldn't have went there. But that's what I'm saying is they could have made them come into this, this trilogy like as one unit,
Yeah.
And I feel like that would have been much more, even if they still would have done the same sequence that he gets killed. And then in that fact, it would have been even more heartbreaking, but in this, it's like, he's like, I don't really want to do this, but I guess I'll try, versus like
I hate to say it, I feel like The Rise of Skywalker could have been better if Carrie Fisher was alive to film it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, they did a great job with what they had, and it's heartbreaking that it happened. But I think it could have been better.
It had to be that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, it would have been better if she was actually there to do it.
Yeah,
she could have had bigger role, and it would have been more important. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. I think this is pretty long for our behind the scenes.
Yeah.
First episode of behind the scenes. Because it's because we have so much to talk about going into the very controversial topic for next week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last week would have been like, hey guys, Solo, cool. It's gonna be fun. See you later.
Woo.
Man. Yeah, but I'm getting hungry.
I'm hungry too.
All right, you stopping the recording, Tyler?
Just a sec.